They say the ocean doesn't give back what it takes. I used to think that was just some poetic nonsense meant to keep kids from wandering too far into the surf. But after what happened last summer, I know better. It started when I rented a cottage near Dagger Beach, a forgotten stretch of coast, hidden deep within the cliffs of Cornwall. It was cheap, remote, and the photos made it look like the kind of place you could disappear into for a week, get some peace, clear your head. That's exactly what I wanted. The cottage itself was nothing special. 2 rooms, creaky floors, a fireplace that didn't work, and an overpowering scent of sea salt soaked into the wood. The owner, an old man named Russell, met me there on the first day. His handshake was firm, but his eyes darted behind me constantly, like he expected someone else to arrive. "You came alone?" he asked. I nodded. "Good," he muttered. "Just stay out of the water after dark. Tide pulls hard here, real hard." I laughed it off, thought it was just a warning for tourists. Still, there was something about the way he said it that stuck with me. The first few days were fine, peaceful even. I woke early, walked the beach, read in the afternoons, drank wine and listened to the waves crash at night. The only strange thing was the fog. It would roll in thick and fast, always around dusk, and with it the beach went eerily silent. No birds, no waves, just this dense, unnatural stillness. On the 3rd night, I couldn't sleep. The wind had picked up, and the windows rattled like bones. Around 2 a.m, I heard something faint, like singing, not melodic, not beautiful, more like humming through a cracked throat. I pulled on my coat and stepped outside. The fog was so thick I could barely see past my porch, but the humming was louder now, coming from the shore. I followed it, my feet crunching over wet stone and sand. When I reached the cliff edge overlooking the beach, I froze. Figures down by the water, pale, thin, swaying slightly, at least a dozen of them knee-deep in the surf. I couldn't see their faces, just silhouettes through the mist. One of them turned and looked up at me. It didn't have eyes, just black hollows where they should be. I ran. The next morning I told myself I was sleep-deprived. Maybe I had a fever. Hallucinations weren't uncommon with too much isolation, right? Still, I drove into town to speak to Russell. He didn't act surprised. "You saw them," he said flatly. "The drowned ones." I laughed nervously. "You're not serious." Russell didn't laugh back. "They died here, long time ago. Shipwrecked, some say. Others think they were thrown off the cliffs. Smugglers, exiles, witches. Whatever they were, they never left. Tide takes the body, but not the soul." He leaned in close. "When they come out, when the fog rolls in, looking for something, someone, to drag back with them." I left before he could say more. That night, I kept every light on, kept the fire going just in case. But the fog came anyway, creeping through the cracks in the walls, coating the windows like frost. And with it, the humming returned. This time, it was right outside my door. I held my breath. Knock, knock, knock. 3 slow knocks, gentle, polite even. I didn't move. Then I heard a voice, childlike, rasping, almost playful. "You left your light on." I didn't answer. "You should come see the water," it said. I don't know how long I stood there, frozen, staring at the door. Eventually the voice faded, the humming stopped, the fog thinned by morning. I should have left then, packed my things, driven inland, forgotten the whole thing, but I didn't. Something kept me there. Curiosity, obsession, stupidity. Maybe a little of all 3. The 5th night was different. No fog, no humming, only silence. I thought it was over, until I noticed the waterline. It had receded farther than I'd ever seen. The beach stretched on endlessly, exposing rocks and wreckage that were usually hidden beneath the waves. Drawn by something I couldn't explain, I walked out across the wet sand. The tide had pulled back nearly half a mile. At the farthest edge, something glinted in the moonlight, an old lantern half buried in seaweed. When I picked it up, the air changed, heavy, charged, and then I saw them, hundreds of them, figures, rising from the sand like corpses through a grave. Their limbs moved in unnatural jerks, as if the sea had never quite given them back their bones. Their eyes, if you could call them that, were just voids, black holes that seemed to drink the light. One stepped forward, her jaw hung crooked and strands of seaweed clung to her dress like veins. She reached out and whispered, "Come walk with us." I turned to run, but the sand sucked at my feet. Hands, wet, cold, boldness wrapped around my ankles. I screamed. Then everything went black. I woke up in the cottage on the floor, soaked to the skin, lungs burning with salt water. No fog, no beach, just silence. I thought I'd dreamed it. But when I looked down, I was still holding the lantern. That was last summer. Since then, I've tried to move on, tried to convince myself it was all a hallucination, but I can't. Not when I still hear the humming some nights. Not when I wake to the scent of sea salt thick in the air. Not when I check the mirror and see sand crusted in my eyelashes. Last night, I got a letter. No stamp, no return address. Just one sentence written on salt-stained parchment. "The tide is coming in, and I swear I can hear them calling."